So X-Men 97 is truthfully becoming on par with Invincible for me. I know that might sound stupid. We've only seen 3 episodes of X-Men 97 and there are 7 more left for them to potentially fumble the bag. So just hear me out. I honestly felt my hype for watching the new X-Men exceed, if just barely, my hype for watching the new Invincible. I get that the X-Men are always going to be way more popular as characters, and this show is technically a continuation of a show that I loved as well as many other loved as children, but it's just so much more than that. So episode 3 starts with, in parentheses, Jean reading the mind of the Jean at the door from the last episode, and we come to find out that she is the real Jean, which gets parentheses Jean in defense mode. We'll call her Madeline because, well, that's who she is in the comics, who is a clone of Jean Grey created by Mr. Sinister, as we find him coming out of the shadows and causing her to lose her right mind and go full Goblin Queen, which, besides that being the name Scott probably calls her in private, it's what she was called in the comics during the Inferno storyline. It can get a bit confusing just because the story kind of runs between Uncanny X-Men 240 and through X-Factor 36 to 39, but I feel you could also take into account issue 238 and 239 of Uncanny X-Men for a little bit of a better understanding. Essentially, Madeline felt abandoned by Scott, which she kinda was, and through the help of like this demon, she takes back control from Mr. Sinister and she pretty much warps New York into like hell almost, and X-Factor and the current X-Men get kind of possessed and they start fighting each other, and this is ultimately so that Scott and Jean can rescue Nathan Summers because Madeline wants to kill him and kill Jean, and they're able to defeat Madeline, saving the baby, but then Sinister comes through in like this like mindscape scenario, but is eventually defeated by Cyclops and X-Factor 39. We see Wolverine and the boys come out the danger room, and Morph really is testing Gambit's simp meter, okay, which was so tongue-in-cheek, especially for a kids show, just using the innuendo of stamina, and then Morph literally pushing the danger room button while figuratively pushing Gambit's button. Shit is clean. That's clean writing, okay? And then what they're implying is that Morph has a little crush on Logan, which I get that, especially for a character like Morph, he would be down for anything because he could literally be anything, but then also the simple fact he approached Wolverine so nonchalantly with that hard to reach places line in the showers has got me thinking, you know, does Wolverine have a whole skinwalker in the basement type situation going on with Morph? But then we get all True Sigma's worst nightmare with Gambit walking in on an illusion of Rogue and Magneto literally melted together, okay? Let's spam ball crushers for our fallen warrior. We get an insane Poltergeist TV moment with Roberto's mom coming out of the TV in monster form, which this is actually what happens in most Latino households when your mom is mad at you, or you know, if she just sees something on the floor. The animation here is literally insane. There's so much effort put into this. We also got Scott and Bishop wrapped up with dark apparitions of their past and absolutely terrifying teddy bear Professor X. Then she literally sends everyone to Twitter. I mean, hell, Bishop does get his chance to shine though and gets a boost from Cyclops, dispelling most of the demons, but then we get the original Jean coming in like an angel and dispelling all the demonic entities from the vicinity and literally elevating the team from hell. You know what any good woman will do for your life. I know for a fact, players, that this is how all Latina women are when they don't have headaches or, you know, when their stomachs aren't hurting. Because if, you know, that is the case, then there might be new levels of hell yet to be discovered. But other than that, they are literal angels sometimes. But that is when the Goblin Queen reveals herself, and goddamn, I think I just witnessed the birth of a She-Go, okay? Like that cartoon baddie you have a crush on as a kid, shit, maybe even as a grown-ass adult. She takes baby Nathan to Sinister's castle, and that's where he puts him in the fucking HGH D1 prospect tank, and that's for the purposes of giving baby Nathan the techno-organic virus. And he's not the only Summers boy that he has been messing with, okay? Scott has a huge history with Sinister that is revealed in X-Factor 39, so definitely check that out. The X-Men come through and we get such a phenomenal action sequence and just display of animation, okay? The Goblin Queen versus Magneto is fucking insane, and then Scott confronts her and she goes in for a little makeout session and then starts giving him a migraine, like in real life. But the real Jean is coming to her senses, and just when Wolverine gets his chance to, you know, shoot his shot, she senses this happening to Scott, and another Sigma moment occurs where the baddie you want forgets your entire existence. And can we get a collective howl at the moon going for our brother Logan out here? He's in distress. But essentially, Jean intervenes from the X-Mansion telepathically and sets us down memory lane where both Jeans confront their memories and which belong to who, and we see a real hard push from Madeline that she was the Phoenix, like she was powered power incarnate, which in the comics, the reason for that is because when Jean died, the Phoenix found Madelyne Pryor as the closest thing to Jean because she was her clone and went into her so that she would develop powers. And after the Dark Phoenix saga, particularly in issue 137 of Uncanny X-Men, that's when Jean, or the Phoenix, dies, technically, kind of. And in Avengers 263, it's discovered that, at least to the readers, that Jean had been in a cocoon made by the Phoenix Force this whole time and did not die, and for whatever reason, the Phoenix made like an exact replica of her. It's a little kooky, it's a little crazy. I'm probably gonna need to reread it a couple times. So if you go back to the original show, there's maybe just like a 1-episode gap of Jean returning after the 5-episode Phoenix saga from season 3. Later in that season, we get a Dark Phoenix saga, so maybe it's the case that's when they were switched, who knows? But I almost like that we don't know when they were switched, so that can add to the whole uncertainty, which adds to the overall eeriness and the kind of horror aspect of the episode. And in this mind trip, we also see an almost angelic Professor X meeting a young Jean Grey for the first time and comforting her, knowing that she's not alone. And we get an insane, I would say close to anime level imagery. Like, I felt like I was watching some Evangelion type shit, especially during this sequence when they get swallowed and we see baby Nathan in the womb. This all to give Madelyne, who has had her whole existence questioned and thrown through a blender, an anchor to reality. And I love the line that snaps Madelyne out of Sinister's control. He's not just a memory, he's a living reminder of the purest love two people can share. Okay, that's just absolutely beautiful. Then Madelyne and Scott go parent mode and rescue baby Nathan, but Sinister, dips and has already given him the techno-organic virus, so in order for it to be treated effectively, they have to send him to the future with Bishop. And Madelyne decides to part ways with the X-Men and live her own life for once. This is literally the perfect scenario for Wolverine, and yet again, the Sigma fate he cannot escape. Besides that, we get a pretty powerful last shot of the real Jean and Scott uniting. It feels like both of them are almost at an emotional stalemate. Like, how do we even begin again? Scott's like, I just technically lost the mother of my child, and now my actual wife is back after who knows how long, and what had happened in the meantime. It's just all so deep and human. The last part is a Forge meeting Storm in a bar, which is the beginning of the life-death story where Forge tries to get Storm's powers back and looks after her, and they have a bit of a romance. She does eventually get her powers back in Uncanny X-Men 226. I know I say this is a kid's show, it's technically TV PG, but there are plenty of 90s babies that have jobs and maybe children of their own now that I'm sure are very appreciative of them maintaining the quality and the level of maturity that I think is on par or even greater the original 90s show. Not on some sicko Nickelodeon type shit, right? But I'm glad the show is as mature as it is. Like, I remember cartoons like Courage the Cowardly Dog that wouldn't be afraid to show something kind of scary to kids. That, or even Batman the Animated Series, that wouldn't shy away from, I'd say, a more mature tone and mature themes that maybe today's kids with TikTok brain rot wouldn't give a second thought about. I'm not an expert in children's animation. I have no idea what they're showing kids nowadays, so I'm not sure if there's anything that can match what I had growing up. And hey, maybe that's more good than bad, but I think there is value in not shying away from those more mature, real world things. I feel like that might even help kids deal with them. Shit, I saw Finding Nemo when I was like 6 years old, where the mom dies in the first 5 minutes and all the babies, okay? And I turned out all right. All in all, this show stretches out that TV PG rating. It has an excellent understanding of emotion, as we can see from the horror elements, which were genuinely disturbing. And then as well, with the more intimately human moments with Madelyne and her baby, the animation is honestly really top notch. The pacing is also pretty good. There are some parts like the lead up to Madelyne becoming the Goblin Queen, or when Scott says he won't abandon his son, but then leaves within a minute, that feel a bit outlandishly escalated. Some would say cartoonishly, but it's saved by the writing in my opinion, and the motivations are pretty solid. Also, just the way it's translating the source material, like they didn't have Madelyne go crazy and try to kill her baby. They made that whole thing very meaningful. And in the comics, when Scott found out that Jean was still alive, he basically pretty much abandoned Madelyne and the kid. But now he at least said he wouldn't abandon his child like his father did. So I think the show is just getting in the groove, but it's really impressive already. Again, I only use the comparison because they're two great animated shows that are coming out concurrently and being lauded for how good they are. I love them both, but if I have to say one thing, I think that X-Men 97 is a bit better with the adaptation aspect. They're both great at tweaking the source material, so we get something new and you can guess where they're going, but not so much how they'll get there. But with X-Men more so, I feel the where they're going is still more ambiguous, so that makes the show all the more worthwhile in my opinion. I will probably continue to review it week to week unless something big drops and takes the weekly video spot. Again, we are blessed regardless to be living in an amazing time for animated comic book projects. I'm sad Invincible stops this upcoming week, but I'm so glad we still have X-Men 97. But again, let me know what y'all thought of the episode and any predictions you have for the next week's episode. That's pretty much it. If you liked the video, leave me a thumbs up, comment down below, and if you want, subscribe. I always appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope all of you guys are well, and I will see you in the next one.